Okay, we're rolling. Welcome back to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pastor Jardula, and I wanted to start this new process of breaking down some of the videos that I see on TV that I just go crazy about, and I'm screaming at the TV screen. I figured on my off time, when we're not doing the big show with Fiorella, I can come down there and give you a little peace of mind about what I think, what I see on the TV every day, because we haven't done that, but we want to start doing this whole process so you can get a little bit of an idea about some of the stuff we like or dislike anyways. I know I'm mumbling on because it's the first time here, so please bear with me, because I saw this Trump interview the other day on Fox. Not that I watch Fox, but my friend put on the TV the other day and put on the interview, and I had to watch it. And I was really intrigued. And it was with Steve Hilton, and I figured we would break it down little by little. Now, I'm not one of those big-time hate Trump no matter what he does, yell at him no matter what he does type of guy. However, I am pretty critical of some of the things he has done. For one, when I woke up the day after the election in 2016, the one thing I hope for is that Donald Trump would be the non-interventionist he campaigned as. Has he lived up to that mark? Not at all. And I'm going to explain why as we break down this video. And also, one of the things I want to kind of point out here, and the reason why I'm doing this video is I have a lot of friends who are Trump fans, okay? They believe in the wall. They believe in controlling the border of how much migration comes in and comes out. However, they never seem to talk about why there's such a big migration problem. And I think with people like Tulsi Gabbard in the race, and of course Bernie Sanders, but Tulsi Gabbard, who's so just anti-regime change, she's really put a big spotlight on what's going on. And even though Donald Trump hasn't started his own wars yet, and let's be honest, on the regime change scorecard for presidents, Obama's got 3.5. I'm saying Yemen is a half when you got Syria, Libya, and Honduras. George Bush before them has Afghanistan and then Iraq, which was the worst one. I think George Bush was one of the worst presidents of my time. Donald Trump hasn't got on the scoreboard yet. However, he has continued to fund these wars, and we're going to look at this video. So let's just jump into his, because I can talk all day. But here's Donald Trump in an interview with Mr. Steve Hill. Let me get him up over here. And
just tell us what you're aiming to achieve with that.
Well, really, very simply, we have companies coming in here, as you know, by the dozens and by the hundreds, and big ones, car companies. Honda's coming in with $14.5 billion. We have a tremendous amount of very, very top of the line, and they're coming back. We need people. We need people. And our unemployment now is down to 3.6, and I think it's going a lot lower. We're doing really well. I want to make sure that anybody that comes into our country comes in through merit.
All right, I got to stop you right there. Through merit. Let's break this down. Because a lot of people just think that they're coming here because their country's government is screwed up, and the poor conditions have to do with everything with themselves and their own government. But it's not. I put up the regime change playbook so many times, and especially when it comes to South America and Central America, or the Americas for that matter, people coming in from Mexico. But primarily they're coming in because of what we've done, mainly our CIA and our government. Obama did it last in Honduras in 2009, and about 80% of the immigrants that are coming from Honduras. Now, what do? We took a socialistic leader like Manuel Zelaya out. Why? Because he wasn't friendly to our corporations. He wasn't giving them the banana fields. He wasn't getting into weapons deal to buy weapons, just like Honduras' new government has a 10-year deal to buy weapons from Israel. But he wasn't playing ball. So we removed him and put in a government that's corporately friendly for us, And now people are flocking by the thousands. So when you say merit, shouldn't we hold ourselves accountable? Because by merit, they should be allowed in. You keep on saying by merit. We caused the chaos in their country. I'm sure the government made some mistakes themselves, but our intervention is the main cause of the problem. And all the Trump fans, I don't know why they're not out there yelling at Donald Trump as he's trying to have a televised coup in Venezuela. Come on, let's go back to this thing. So merit, number one, strike one. I wish I had my ex.
You know that very well. I watch your show all the time. And we want it coming in through merit. That's what we have to have. We can't do the other. It's just not possible. And what we want to do is put up a very strong border. We'll have, by the end of next year, 450 to 500 miles built of the wall itself and the border wall.
Okay, let's start about the border wall again. We keep talking about this border wall. If Trump fans, if you're serious about slowing down migration to the United States, why wouldn't you be serious about stopping the intervention? I'm talking, this is your tax dollars, and you're talking billions upon billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars spent with your tax dollars, okay? Wasted to cause the problem for them to come and migrate to the United States only to cause another problem. How about we just stay out? How about Trump supporters call Donald Trump and tell him, call the White House, signs, I don't care what you do, tell him to stay out of Venezuela. And guess what? Because if they don't, another mass migration of Venezuelans are going to come, you're going to complain, but yet we're part of the problem, and you're not addressing that.
And it's imperative. You know, I read so much where the Democrats like to say, we're going to have drones flying around. You have thousands of people. The drone doesn't do a thing. So the wall is being built as we speak. We'll have close to 500 miles done by the end of next year, which is really something, and that'll have a big impact. And we're changing laws as rapidly as we can get them through the courts. But you know better than anybody, we're fighting a court system. We're fighting the Democrats. The Democrats want open border. That means crime. And we have great crime statistics, but they'd be even better if we didn't have, all of this coming in between the drugs and many of the wrong people that have records, people that have criminal records. So we're making very sure that those people don't get in. We're taking tremendous numbers of them out. And all of this is in a very comprehensive plan. And it'll go before Congress. It's going to have tremendous Republican support. I hope we can get enough Democrat support to get it passed.
So you think...
Oh, you'll get Democrats to get it passed. You'll get Democrats to get it passed. Don't worry about that. Neoliberals think like neocons. Half the establishment Democrats are supporting regime change in Venezuela, whether it be Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Joe Biden, even your boy Bill Clinton came with some news about supporting regime change. So don't worry, you'll get your support.
This actually has a chance of happening.
Well, I think there's tremendous pressure on many of the Democrats to get something passed, in areas where I won by a lot and then somebody got in as in the House, in particular in the House, so they control the House. But there's a lot of seats where they're, very inclined toward me. And this time I'm running as opposed to just watching.
Because a lot of people are saying that what they've heard about this plan is that it's designed really to get the Republicans all together. They don't really expect the Democrats to get behind it.
No, we expect that. Look, you can't say you expect anything. The one thing I will say, they have lousy policy. In many cases, they're lousy politicians. But you know what? They stick together. And
okay. All right. This is the bullshit part about Donald Trump. Where do you come up with this shit? The Democrats stick together. No, the Democrats don't stick together. They're fractured as can be, and if you don't believe me, follow us as we go to the Democratic National Convention as the progressives and the establishment are still head and head. They're still fighting like two bulls ramming each other. The Democrats are so fractured, but the Republicans, when it's time to get in line and vote, the Republicans all line up and do what they have to do. That's why your ass, Mr. Trump, is in the White House. Please.
You go throughout history, for whatever reason, the Democrats stick together, and the Republicans don't stick the same way as the Democrats do. And I don't say that as a positive. I say that as a negative. The Democrats do stick together. So if they decide, I guess leadership decides that they don't want to have it, then we're going to have a continuation. But we've gotten very tough on the border. We're letting, we have a catch and release where you catch, and then you have to, by law, release. Or you have to take them to a court. Nobody has a court system. What country has a court system?
How about our system? How about our country has a court system? Our country. Remember when you were sending the National Guard down to the border to keep the migrants from coming in? You should have sent down a bunch of judges. Send them down to the border so that these people's cases can be heard. So your merit bullshit, okay, which is most of the problems are caused by us anyways. I'm never going to get away from that anyways until we stop intervening and until we stop spending millions of taxpayer dollars on these wars. Our merit, we should let these people in. And if you want to be secure about it, send judges down there. Send judges, not the National Guard.
System where somebody walks into the country. Right. Other countries, they take them out.
So does this new plan have details in it that would change that?
Tremendous details. It's got a very fair asylum system. The asylum system is a disaster right now. They read a statement handed to them by a lawyer, and then you're supposed to take them in. You know, a lawyer hands them a statement, and they read the statement.
Right.
They come in and they say, we fear to be in our country. But then you see they were the people online, they're carrying the flag of their country, whether it's Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador.
So you got the asylum.
It's a big con, Steve.
Yeah, they're carrying the flag to let you know what country you screwed up. It's a big con, right? I mean, you know, we go to these countries, we remove their democratically elected leader, and then we replace them with our own puppet, causing chaos, sell them weapons to keep all the people in line, just like what they're doing in Honduras. Did you know that 1,000 Israeli soldiers went to Honduras as part of their guns weapons deal? You know what they're training, the Israeli soldiers are training the Honduranian soldiers to do? To keep the fucking migrants in. So we cause chaos and then we don't let them out. It's disgusting. And we've done this before. Hey, I got a list. Guatemala, Chile, Honduras, Salvador, Iraq, Afghanistan. And now you're pumping up a war in Venezuela and you want to put a guy in, a puppet, who didn't even run in the election. Juan Guaido. And Maduro, who fairly won his election, and even the Jimmy Carter Institute said their elections are some of the best elections around. You now want to do your regime change on TV, Donald Trump. I'll tell you who the big sham is.
To be honest with you, it's a disgraceful thing. It could be fixed in 15 minutes if the Democrats would agree.
And the big thing about it is the change in terms of people coming in, whether from wherever in the world, but
right.
for merit. That's the key point.
The biggest thing is you
thing.
come in through merit and you come in legally. Two things. You have to come in legally and you have to come in through merit.
And one.
All right, I can't do this anymore because it's going to just keep going in circles with Donald Trump and Donald Trump and Donald Trump. And what he's saying might make sense, but that's if you don't understand what we do to these governments to cause these problems. And that's something I keep yelling. If you're, you know, the day after he got elected, I thought he would have this libertarian mindset. Remember when he did this? Take a look at this one real quick. I just want to play this. This is when I jumped up.
So, let me just tell you, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say, and he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake.
So
George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it?
You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
See, that was the stuff that I saw that really gave me hope. I mean, once again, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. My dumb ass voted for Hillary because I got punked and bullied into doing so. But yeah, I mean, that was one thing I hope. I'm like, listen, maybe he has this kind of libertarian kind of mindset where it's all about business, and he says it's too expensive to go to war. And I'm going to jump to the war part of this interview because right now in the middle, and this is something I can't stand because they do it wrong. Fox News did the interview wrong. Right after immigration, he should be talking about wars because the refugee problem is caused by what? War, not just poverty in the country. The poverty is caused by war, the destabilization. So they should have went immigration right into war. They didn't. They jumped to China. And I can break down the China stuff, but it's a whole nother show. So I'm going to jump to more war stuff. But when Donald Trump said that stuff to George Bush, I was kind of amazed because I never seen a Republican say that kind of thing. Donald Trump said right there when he said they lied, he said stuff that, let me get my video set. He said stuff, Donald Trump, that no Republican will ever say and stuff like that. And that's why I had some hope that he would be a non-interventionist. Was he? No. Let's get to the tape.
The conflict that they've caused, and the deal that President Obama made was a horror show, the Iran nuclear deal, because basically it says that in 5 years from now, they're going to have an open path to making nuclear weapons. We don't need another country with that. And frankly, especially them. We don't need it. So he made this terrible deal, paid $150 billion. paid $1.8 billion in cash. That means cash, like I mean out of your pocket, cash, green. Nobody's ever heard of a thing like that. I don't know if you've ever seen at a casino promotion $1 million in $100 bills. It's a lot of area. What's $1.8 billion like? So he paid all of this money, made a terrible deal. We don't have good inspection rights. We weren't even allowed to inspect some of the most important sites, like military bases, certain things, where they would do it. Okay, the deal was terrible. When I first came to office, one of the first meetings I had was at the Pentagon with generals, and they were showing me the Middle East. And they had 14 or 15 sites where there was nothing but war, problems. Every single one of those sites was instigated by Iran.
Okay, that's a crock of shit. Okay, that's a crock of shit. We instigated what happened with their government. In 1953, we removed the secular leader Mossadegh, okay? He was elected by his people to put the Shah back in the power. Why? Because it was all about the Persian Anglo Oil Company, which eventually became BP. We wanted their oil. Mossadegh was going to nationalize their oil. So we removed and put the Shah in, and he reigned from 1953 to 1979. And the country was in turmoil. Everybody was fighting each other. And what happened? Ayatollah Khamenei came in, and now it's a theocracy. And they don't cause all those problems. We caused those problems. We went into Iraq. Obama went into Syria. Okay? Madam Secretary convinced him to do Libya. Well, I know it's in Africa, but it's in the water near the Middle East over there in the Med. We cause all these problems. And you know what? We gave them all this money already. Why wouldn't you keep the friggin' deal? You know why? Because this is the part where you see plain and simple that Donald Trump is Israel's bitch. Sheldon Adelson, who wanted the embassy moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, got his wish. And this is their biggest problem right now. Israel hates Iran. They want Iran gone. They want more regime change in Iran. And Iran will make Iraq look like a picnic if we go in there. Okay? It's endgame, ladies and gentlemen. And if you really didn't want to go in there, Donald Trump, if you wanted to be a non-interventionist, why the hell would you fucking hire Pompeo? And more than anything, why would you hire Lord Bolton? More to this.
It was Iran military. It was people paid by Iran. It was just, you have no idea. It was just, I said, this is terrible. They were so strong. I ended the Iran nuclear deal. And actually, I must tell you, I had no idea it was going to be as strong as it was. It totally, the country is devastated from the...
Why does he keep bragging when he devastates a country with sanctions economically? I know he keeps this whole pitch where, hey, I don't want to go to war. I want to take on these countries economically and sweat them, Cold War style. But you haven't, okay? Why are we still spending $5 billion a month in Afghanistan? $5 billion. You were supposed to be a non-interventionist, and you go, oh, I let the generals do whatever they want for a year, and then I reeled them back. Yeah, you reeled them back from $8 billion a month. It's billion, not million. $8 billion a month to $5 billion a month. That's ridiculous. In Afghanistan, we've been there for 19 friggin' years. Pull the people out. Where's the non-interventionist Donald Trump, the libertarian mindset that he talked and campaigned as? Where is he?
The standpoint of the economy.
But now you see, the thing that I think a lot of people are worried about is that they heard what you said in 2016 and liked it when you said no more stupid wars. And then they hear these stories about troops and so on.
I just don't want them to have nuclear weapons. And they can't be threatening us. And you know, with all...
If you didn't want them to have nuclear weapons, Donald, why'd you pull out of the deal? They were handcuffed. They already got their money. Obama made a terrible deal. So what? Okay, it was a terrible deal. That deal was already in motion. They were complying. This isn't about them getting nuclear weapons. This is about you doing Israel's bidding, Mr. Trump. Sorry. Fail.
All of,
I just want to read
with
you
all of
something.
everything that's going on, and I'm not one that believes, you know, I'm not somebody that wants to go into war, because war hurts economies, war kills people, most importantly, by far most importantly. Right. I think that if you look, when I went to North Korea, there were nuclear tests all the time. There were missiles going up all the time. We had a very rough time. Then we got along. We'll see what happens right now. Right now, I don't think I told him when I left Vietnam when we had the summit. I said to Chairman Kim, and I think very importantly, I said, look, you're not ready for a deal. Because he wanted to get rid of 1 or 2 sites, but he has 5 sites. I said, what about the other 3 sites? That's no good. We're going to make a deal. Let's make a real deal. But they haven't had any tests over the last 2 years. It's 0. There's a chart, and it shows 24 tests, 22 tests, 18 tests. Then I come, and once I'm there for a little while, you know, we went through a pretty rough rhetorical period. But once I'm there for a little while, no tests, no tests, no tests. So let's see what happens.
So
but you cannot let...
And then you let John Bolton come in and sabotage the whole friggin' deal. You let him ruin it. Him and Pompeo. What are you doing with these 2 schmucks? Elliot Abrams. People don't get it. Listen, the people that I know that were Trump supporters that are switching on over to Tulsi Gabbard, it's because of this reason right here. You're a war hawk. You're letting the neocons do whatever they want. $717 billion? We're trending in the wrong way. Make America great. Bring that money home. You say all those things. It kills people. It kills lives. And, you know, it's stuff that a lot of Republicans won't say. And I'll give you that. A lot of Republicans won't even whisper the words military-industrial complex. You will, Mr. President. But what are you doing with these guys? We can't go $500 billion a year? $500 billion a year. We'd still have more than the top 4 countries put together. And bring some of that money home. You're not fulfilling your promises, Mr. President.
Iran have nuclear weapons.
I want to read you something Lindsey Graham said.
Okay.
Your friend Lindsey Graham.
Yes.
Your friend.
He was in a magazine profile, and he reported on a conversation he had with you, and he said that you said to him, the trouble with you, Lindsey, is you want to invade everywhere except the places I want to invade.
Well,
so my question is, where does he want to invade? But more importantly, where do you want to invade?
I want to invade if I have to economically. We've created a...
Okay, but, you know, here once again, the economically thing. And what are you going to do, sweat out the poor people of the country until they turn on their government? That's economically invading? I mean, and I don't understand China's a whole different thing, but all this, you went sanction crazy, man. You put more sanctions on Venezuela. You stole their money. And now you want to crush the deal with Iran to put more sanctions on them. When Bill Clinton put sanctions on Iraq, almost 500,000 children were killed. Children, poor people. These economic wars don't hurt the rich. They don't hurt the upper middle class. They hurt the poor.
A much stronger country economically than when I took it over. When I took it over, we were heading south. Our GDP would have been very negative. Regulations didn't allow you to do. You know, yesterday, as you probably...
All right, I just want to really pause real quick. Regulations, don't start with that shit. You can get rid of the bag regulations, but to think every regulation is bad is stupid. And we have to, you know, a lot of regulations are protections. They're for the environment. They're for our well-being, for safety, whatnot. So we have to stop with this just get rid of all regulations bullshit. It's unfettered capitalism, and it's no good. Sorry, go.
So I was in Louisiana opening up a $10 billion LNG plant that would have never been approved under another type of administration, never. And now you have 10,000 people working there, $10 billion they invested. We have tremendous power economically. If I can solve things economically, that's the way I want it.
So you can reassure people you're not looking for some kind of conflict in Iran? And
well, I'm the one that talks about these wars that are 19 years and people are just there. And don't kid yourself, you do have a military-industrial complex. They do.
All right, see now, that, like I said before, that's something no Republican will mention, and that's where sometimes you have hope, you think, because he's mentioning the fact that there is a military-industrial complex that's just bleeding the country dry. They always want to go to war. They never want to pull out, and he's going to talk about it. But my only question to you is, why are you still feeding it? You haven't stopped. We haven't pulled out of anywhere. You talk all this talk. Well, walk the walk, Mr. President. Bring the troops home. Completely out of Afghanistan, and that's the problem. It's 19 years, and once we pull out, things were worse than when we got in. So what do we spend all that millions of dollars for? All those human lives, All those troops that were killed, that come home with PTSD only to shoot themselves in the head. What was it for? It was for nothing. But do us a favor, Mr. President. Send them home now. $5 billion a month in Afghanistan, is ridiculous.
You like war. You know, in Syria with the caliphate. So I wipe out 100% of the caliphate. That doesn't mean you're not going to have these crazy people going around blowing up stores and blowing up things. These are seriously ill people. I don't want to say, oh, they're wiped out, ISIS. But I wiped out 100% of the caliphate. I say, I want to bring our troops back home. The place went crazy. They want to keep, you have people here in Washington. They never want to leave. I say, you know what I'll do? I'll leave a couple of hundred soldiers behind. But if it was up to them, they'd bring thousands of soldiers in. Someday people will explain it.
Well, this is an example.
You do have a group, and they call it the military-industrial complex. They never want to leave.
So why feed them? Why not feed them? Why stop feeding them?
They always want to fight. No, I don't want to fight. But you do have situations like Iran. You can't let them have nuclear weapons. You just can't let that happen.
So that's an example, I think, of what people liked in 2016, where you didn't come over as a traditional
changed.
Republican.
No, but I haven't changed.
And that.
Well, take a look.
That's what we talk about on our show, the popular. I just want to go through a couple of.
I gave the generals. I said, go ahead. You got 1 year. See what you can do in Afghanistan. So they fight and fight and fight. But, we've taken it way down in Afghanistan. I don't know if you've seen that, Steve. We've taken it way down. Now.
Okay, I got to stop you there, Mr. President. How far have you taken down? To $5 billion a month? Not good enough. Not good enough. These troops should have been coming home for a long time. Now, I can get back into this interview and keep going with this thing. It's more or less the same thing, but it's something I've always wanted to talk about because the two most pressing issues when it comes to Donald Trump are this. Number one, the wall, immigration status. Okay, we have an immigration problem. We have a lot of Trump supporters who want a wall. However, we wouldn't need it if we didn't stop putting our nose in where it didn't belong. If we stopped intervening, there wouldn't be these problems, and migration wouldn't be as crazy as it is. And we're talking about caravans just coming up from Honduras, Salvador, Guatemala, and right now we're spending a ton of money in Nicaragua and funding the opposition once again. And Trump hasn't stopped these policies. Okay, there's still troops in Afghanistan. He talks all this talk, but he's got to walk the walk, and he's not walking. We're still spending too much money there. There's still troops in Syria. There's still troops in, where else did he say he was going to pull out? Africa. He's putting more troops in Africa. And not only that, he's arming the drones now in Africa for AFRICOM. Look into it. It's pretty disgusting. And that was started, those bases were built by Obama. So, it's one president after the other doing the same type of thing. And it just seems like they're addicted to war. And Donald Trump hasn't done what he needs to do. He keeps talking a good talk, but he's continuing the policies, especially the regime change policies. And who he surrounds himself with his cabinet is pretty disgusting. But anyways, I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to stop. That's my first video on my own. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm sorry if it was really choppy. Hopefully I'll get better at this and you'll continue to watch. But if you like the video and you want to subscribe, please, we have a YouTube, a Facebook, a Tweets or Twitter, as the kids are calling it nowadays, an Instagram, and we're also on Roku, and pretty soon we'll be coming to podcast as well. And the Convo Couch will be at the Democratic Convention in California, because that's where we live. Me and Fiorella and Nico House is coming out from the East Coast with Johnny Tsunami and Zach Attack, and my boy Mike Strategakis. We're going to be covering the DNC, and we're going to be getting some microphones in a lot of these candidates and elected officials' mouths, and we're going to ask them hard questions. For Pastor Jardula, this is the Convo Couch. Convo out.